I came to JVS by Arnold coming to Centennial College because I was doing a HYPE program there, which stands for Helping Youth Pursue Education. And when he did a presentation, his presentation was really good, and he started handing out his business cards. And I took his business card, and after I took his business card, immediately I was just like, well, I want to check out this place, you know? And I went and I checked it out. I was like, okay, this seems pretty cool, something I could go to. And I kept it in mind from then.
Reach.
Okay, well, I found my way to JVS YouthReach by looking at Arnold coming. Well, Arnold came to our presentation at Centennial College. And after he did the presentation, I thought I should reach out to him. And I took his business card. And then immediately I wanted to go to JVS. And I went with him. He gave me a ride there, and yeah.
Reach.
Okay, well, I found my way to JVS YouthReach by listening to Arnold's presentation when he came to Centennial College, and after that I took his business card so I could be able to follow up with him, and he gave me a ride one day to be able to check it out. When I first came to JVS YouthReach, initially what I thought about the program was a very good and calm environment where people are able to focus and get work done. And I thought personally, this is a place where I'll be able to focus and to actually be able to focus on the goals that I want to achieve. Okay, so I would say my life has been a testimony from the moment I was born. When I was born, my mom actually passed away giving birth to me. And it was hard, but and I didn't know her, so then my aunt was taking care of me, my brother, and my sister, and she took care of us until I was 10 years old. There's this one part I never told anyone because it was really dear to me. After 2 months, when my aunt passed away, my grandma actually passed away as well, and these were the 3 women in my life that taught me how to love. And by that, I was able to learn how to be open and to be able to love people because they did a lot of sacrifices for my life. So as I was growing up, I didn't really have that relationship with my father, and I wanted to know, okay, was it my fault? Is there a reason why he doesn't really want to interact with me? As a child growing up, I never knew, never really got that bonding time. So lived with him, after my aunt passed away, I lived with him for 3 or 4 years, and him and my brother got into an argument, and they left. Me and my brother and I left to go to my oldest sister's house, and I was living there. And when I was living there, my brother was gonna leave 2 weeks after we just moved there, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna follow you. And he said one of the most important things to me. He said, sometimes you're gonna have to make decisions on your own. You can't keep following me everywhere I go. And then he gave me this push bracelet, which stands for pray until something happens. So I always kept it on me, and it was just a reminder that, my brother really thought about me, and he really thought that I could be able to make decisions and choices on my own. So from there, that's when I got it a little into the whole neighborhood and the community, and I was coming with the community. I was being together with the community, and honestly, it was an amazing experience, but I was getting bad influences as well. And I thought it was good, but the bad influences wasn't really good. I didn't see it like that though. And as that was happening, that's when I moved. My older sister, she decided that we should move to St. Catharines so we could get away from that neighborhood because she's seen the effects of us being there and how people were just rubbing onto us. So we moved to St. Catharines, and when I was living up there, actually things got worse. I started just partying, drinking, smoking, and just generally getting into gang activities and violence and stuff like that. Didn't really care. I thought it was cool. I thought it was fun. It was my journey. And eventually, my godbrother, a couple of years later, he said, why don't you come over to my church, come check it out. I was like, I don't really want to go over. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll just do it. Just to, go. And when I went, I was just kind of stiff, and people were singing and dancing. Generally, the older ladies at the church were singing and dancing, and they got me kind of amped. I was just like, dancing as well. And what happened was eventually, I started crying for no reason, and I was like, yo, man, them don't cry, man, them don't cry. I tried forcing the tears not to, so I wouldn't cry, but I couldn't stop crying, and I couldn't force it. And that's when people brought me to the front. They prayed for me and everything, and they're like, okay, we'll be here to support you. I go back to St. Catharines. I didn't really get any support, but I went back to St. Catharines, did my same old things, and eventually when I was getting ready, I wanted to go to George Brown College just because I didn't want to live in St. Catharines. I was that determined and passionate to leave St. Catharines. So I went into George Brown College for culinary chef training, and when I started that year, you know, I was doing the same old thing, but one day I caught myself like going on the go bus. I was tipsy still, and I went on the go bus. I took the last go bus, and by the time I woke up, found myself in Newmarket, stranded. And I'm like, how am I gonna get home? And I was living in Maple at the time, so I took like the YRT. My sister came and picked me up, and she drove me home, and I was just like, I feel so bad, I feel so embarrassed. I'm like, I can't keep living my life like this. So then I started just like slowly thinking, actually no, something deep down inside in me said, you know, why don't you go back to that church you went to last time, you know? And I was just like, you know what? If I go back to this church, I'm not singing and dancing with those old ladies like I was the first time. I'm never going to church for the rest of my life in general, and that's it. I went back, and then like when I went there, I realized it was actually good. It was like a good feeling. But on a side note, I realized that there was a lot of people there that was successful. I'm like, what is it that they have that I don't have? How come I can't be successful? How come I can't be there, you know? So then from then I started just being determined to do whatever it takes to be successful in George Brown College. It was hard because I was so used to the things that I used to do all the time and genuinely, so it was hard to take that away. But I think what was really good was the second semester at George Brown College, I had this teacher, and he was pretty brutal on a lot of students, and he got like literally he had 30 students in his class for first semester, and he got 15 out of 30 to drop out, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna take this teacher. I'm like, there's no way he's gonna fail me. I believe I could do anything I put my mind to. And all this is just generating because I always said to myself, I never want to disappoint my mom. She sacrificed her life for mine, so I don't want to disappoint her. So I've always been like that. That was always at the back of my mind, to do whatever it is, but do it successfully. And when I took the teacher, he actually crushed me. Like, literally, he would say, oh, this is not right, this is not good, give me bad marks. And I was just like, what is it that I'm doing that he doesn't see? So eventually, the next month, I decided to pray every day before I went to class. I'm like, okay, let's just see how this would go. And I did that every day for the whole month of February. And what happened was, I don't know what it was, like if he saw something new in me or something, but he started giving me good marks. He started complimenting my dishes. He started saying a whole bunch of nice things. I was just like, whoa. I'm like, if I knew I had to pray before I go to class every time, I should have done this from the get-go. Like, why didn't I think of this before? But then, like, the next month, that's when I got baptized and I gave my life to Christ, you know, and then after that, he started just doing the exact same thing. He started saying bad things about my dishes, grading me wrong. And I was just like, okay, there's no way he just flipped personalities for no reason. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to continue doing my thing and continue seeing how that goes. And literally, I passed the class by 1%, and I thought I failed the class by 1%. And when I went to the teacher, I said to him, how is it that I passed? I thought I failed by 1%. He's like, yeah, you passed. He's like, you shouldn't have passed because you got this mark from a supply teacher that you weren't supposed to get. And the only reason why I wasn't supposed to get it was because I didn't go to the demo class. I was late for the demo class by 1 minute. So he closes the door and locks it. I was late for the demo class by 1 minute. And if you're late for a demo class, you can't be in the lab class. Right. But I'll be outside that door taking notes, listening through the door. I didn't care. And he said that to me, and I was just like, oh, he's like, yeah. So I tried to take the mark out of the system, but the system wouldn't let me. And I was just like, whoa, I'm like, this guy really tried to fail me. He ended up failing 5 students that year, which really sucked, but I was able to pass by that 1%, and from then I was just like, yo. All right, so after the whole chef school thing, I was like, I never want to cook it for the rest of my life. This guy tortured me. I went straight to Canada's Wonderland, and I was a rides operator there. And as a rides operator, I was having fun, and I was like, this is what I want to do. But then it's only seasonal. You know, I did end up getting like crew of the year with my crew, and I did get crew member of the year because of my energy and positive state that I had. And after that, like November came, I was jobless. I was like, what am I going to do? I need to work. So December came, I was working in a catering company. I was like, okay, you know what? I think I could do this. I think I could get back into culinary again. And I did by going to Earl's Kitchen and Bar, which is downtown. And I was working there for a year and a half, but like after like the first 3 months, I'm like, I don't think I could do this for the rest of my life. So I always had it at the back of my head that maybe I should be doing something else. But I always worked there, and my culinary skills improved. So when the June of this year, my cousin was like, oh, there's this thing called Hype. You know, you should do it. You know, it's like a free class. You get bus tokens, you get meals and all that kind of stuff. I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. I'm like, I didn't believe that school could help me in any sort of way, because I thought that OSAP was just going to rob me of my money. School just wants to rob me of my money, and I'm just going to be broken in debt for the rest of my life. I'm like, I don't want to go to school. I don't want nothing to do with school. But then I'm like, you know what? It is a free opportunity to get free education. So I took that opportunity and went in and did the program. And as I was doing the program, you know, they would always have, every Thursday, they would have a guest speaker come. It's just to motivate people to be encouraged to, hey, you could do this, you could go to school. And when I saw Arnold, you know, that's when I was like, he really inspired me to just really say, yo, I could actually do this, because he's been in like different positions that I've been in as well. And then that's how I got affiliated with him. And from then, he was trying to help me find a new job, because I didn't want to work in the restaurant industry for the rest of my life. And he helped me with my resume, and we handed out resumes from time to time, and I was going to Centennial College and working at the same time as well.
Came about?
So yeah, as I was getting like OSAP form finished, I was gonna hand it to one of the counselors at the college. His name was Mehdi, and when I handed it to him, I remember I called the day before and I was asking him, hey, do you have jobs at Centennial College? Could I get into? And he's like, no, not right now. So then the next day when I handed him the form for the OSAP, he was like, oh, Akeem, you called me about like a job, right? It's like, yeah. He's like, do you think you'll be ready for an interview in 10 minutes? I'm like, yeah. So then after that, I have to say, by Arnold's like helping me out on the resume, it really looked professional when I gave it to the people, and then I presented myself professional as well. And I think those two and two helped me get the job as well. And pretty much, okay, so now that I'm at Centennial College, I'm taking business entrepreneurship, and genuinely what I'm learning right now is like, first is adjusting, because I haven't been in school for like 2 years. So adjusting to the whole college life. And that was pretty hard because I didn't know how to. But I realized that you can be organized and you can manage your time. But these two, you need to prioritize. And if you could prioritize and you can be organized, you can manage your time, you'll get to anywhere you want to go, no matter what it is. And that's how people get around in this world, you know? And I took that, I applied it to myself, and now I'm actually starting to adjust. Everything's starting to smoothen out. I think the whole college life teaches you a lot more about life skills, and that you could take and apply not only to your school year and learning in the school year, but also for the rest of your life. And you could teach younger people and even your kids those same skills that you're learning. I would say the learning. Because I love learning just in general, because you can learn anything from anyone. So learning something new, that really is encouraging. I would say the social life. Wasn't that much social when I didn't have that much social time when I was working in a restaurant. I work day and night. So now I'm able to like communicate with other people and learn from them as well, and to be able to like solve problems, you know, and be able to have that solving problems and having that social life, and it's really fun.
That's great.
It's really fun.
So I wanted
yeah, so the program I was in was job search, you know, and when I was doing that with Arnold, you know, it was, at first I thought it was easy, and then I didn't realize there's little things that you really need to know that makes a big difference. And when I was working with Arnold, you know, I thought he was the man to be able to like just get me there, you know, just get me. I didn't expect that I'd have to go through a process. And working with Arnold, it was really good because he really showed me the reality of things, you know. Like, I was trying to find a 9 to 5 job at like a hotel or something, but I'm like, I really don't want to work in the kitchen anymore. I can't see myself behind there. And that's when I asked him to change my resume for like the 4th time, he was like, okay, let's sit down and talk. And he was just being real with me. He was like, you know, these are statistics, you know. And he started breaking it down. Like if I was to work 40 hours a week and I'm getting paid $11 an hour, and I'm doing that for 6 years, I'm only making like 125,000, you know. And I'm in my head, I'm like, okay, that's not a lot for 6 years. He's like, as opposed to if you just go to school, and although you might be in debt for 6 years, but imagine if you're getting paid like a $25 an hour job, and that's for 6 years. You're not only taking care of your expenses and all those other things, you're actually going to be able to have a life and to be able to support yourself and your family. And when I saw the bigger picture to that, I was like, okay, that's really good. And that's what I like about JVS. They're able to just bring what seems very practical to yourself and make it into a reality. And when they're able to do that, just be real with you on a one-on-one level, it just makes you think, and it's like, yo, I want better for my life. And they're able to bring that to the table. And they don't hold back. These guys make sacrifices just like how my mentor does. These guys make sacrifices to be open and to be able to help build that bridge where there's a gap. To tell you the honest truth, it wouldn't look good. It really wouldn't look good. I think I would be depressed. I think I would be involved with like old habits, old ways again. I think I would literally, like my life would just be down. I wouldn't be able to see any hope in my life. I think personally, I wouldn't be encouraged, and yeah, I'll just be living my life on welfare. And that's just the reality of it, you know. As much as I wouldn't want to say it, but that's just true, you know. These guys really showed me that, you know, you could do something. You don't think that there's no opportunity to do something. You have the tools. Yeah, like honestly, I find that the donor support is very important, you know, to be able to fund programs like this, because when you have things like this going on, especially in communities as well needed, it helps and encourages people one by one. You can make a difference in someone's life. That one person, who knows, that one person could be able to help make a difference in other people's lives. And if you don't have things like this happening, then honestly, you're not going to be able to have that community building. You're not going to be able to have your community to be able to stabilize. And that's what you need. You need to be able to have that stabilized community to be able to continually encourage people so then they can be able to help others and to be able to give them that positive, have those positive role models to be able to help others as well. So if without programs like this, without those donors, I don't know where people would be and people like myself would be. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your support.